Welcome back once again, friends. We are in lesson number 27. In the last few lessons, we have been looking at how to make sprites move, using the go-to block, the glide block, and we also saw how to make sprite draw. Now we will extend our journey into Scratch by looking at the concept of direction in Scratch, because if you want to make the sprite move in more sophisticated manners, then you have to understand what is this entire notion of direction in Scratch, right? So let's get started. I've got here a project which I've just started. There's nothing in this project except for the, basically there's no code right now, right? However, what I want you to notice is that for this sprite, which is the cat sprite, if you look at its home, there is something called direction, right? Now, this is what we are talking of today. Notice that direction by default is always 90 in Scratch, right? Now, but if the moment I put my let's say my mouse pointer in this and I click there, notice I see direction 90, which is the default. And more interestingly, I also see an arrow here which is telling me in which direction is the sprite pointing. So right now sprite is pointing is this sort of right direction, and that's exactly where the arrow is, right? Now for those of you who know angles, this is quite quite interesting, because what's going on really is that this direction is just the angle in which the sprite is pointing with respect to the vertical line, right? Now what this means is that if I were to, let's say, take this arrow and let's say move it around. So for example, if I made it 0, notice sprite is pointing upwards, right? This is 0. I mean, right now it's become -1, but let's say I make it 0. It's pointing upwards. If I make it, it was 90 to start with, that's this direction. I can go further. I can make it, let's say, 150, which will be, so if I made it, let's say 150. Now you can do it by typing here, or you can also, like I showed you, just move this dial, right? So those of you who do not know angles, do not worry. You can just, use this. Later on, we'll also learn how to do it from the code. But for now, to understand, you can just play with this. Just change the direction, just change the arrow. Notice that the sprite will keep moving, right? Now, what happens on the other side, right? So remember, this was 0. If I went anti-clockwise, it means if I went to the left side, notice that the angle will be negative, the direction will be negative. So when I said point in direction -90, sprite is actually pointing in, sprite has gone to 0, which is here, and now it's pointing, it's like upside down because it's pointing in the reverse direction, and it comes back to the same 180 when I come here, right? So basically a direction is always a number between -180 and 180. That's because it's -180 degrees or 180 degrees with respect to the vertical line, right? So pointing upwards is 0 and pointing to the right is 90, which is the default, right? So we will look at this very closely as we go along. However, for now, let's just recall this thing, that sprite pointing upwards is 0 degrees, pointing to the right, which is the default, is 90 degrees, pointing downwards is 180 degrees, and similarly pointing left is going back this direction. So that's -90, and once again -179 followed by plus 180. So it's basically -180 to, you can say -180 to +180, and this dial is important. I hope this gave you some idea. As I said, we'll look at this more closely as we go along. Take care. Thank you very much. Bye bye.